underestimated the impact of COVID. I never thought COVID will be that massive an impact. So fortunately around that time I started counting my blessings, and I didn't look at life one-dimensional view of life I took. I just didn't want to go to the other side where I started eating too much or drinking too much or growing a beard. I used to shave every morning because I had to be on Zoom and everything. I just wanted to look the part.
So what's a good thing about the way we watch movies?
That you come out and watch movies. I think that itself is very good, that when you like a movie, it goes to another level.
If there's one person who shaped how India watches cinema over the last few decades, well, we're sitting with him. We're here with the MD of PVR Inox. Ajay, thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking out the time.
Thank you
You've
for having me.
probably heard a description like that millions of times over the last few years, but we were really thinking through it and we were like, no, this is the truest way to describe what you've done.
Yeah.
Can we ask you to almost take our audiences back? So take us back to the origin story of PVR. It's one that's often talked about. So the fact that your family was in the trucking business. There was one theatre initially. You and your wife went and you were actually collecting tickets there too, apart from just running the theatre. It all sounds story-like in the sense that those are the makings of a very, very beautiful film almost. But take us back to that moment, and how did that one theatre become PVR Inox as we know it today?
Yeah. Well, firstly, thanks for having me for this. In fact, before PVR, it was Priya. So I was fortunate that the family that I was born into, they had, my father had a transport company, which was Amritsar based. It's still called Amritsar Transport Company. And plus, he was also into arbitration and used to settle a lot of cases of people. And as it so happened that in 1977, in a dispute, this one property came along, which was Priya. And at that time, it was auctioned by DDA, but it wasn't connected very well. There was no access to the property, so therefore, the cinema didn't perform to the expectation of the partners. And there were a lot of partners. And my father knew most of the partners, and he was trying to settle the partners. And then finally, the only settlement he could think of is that he bought everybody's share. So I was fortunate that other than the trucking company, there was also a cinema that I inherited. So first of all thanks to my father and my forefathers. And then in 1988, when I finished college from Hindu, I went to modern school earlier, and is when I attempted to turn the trucking company around. Or not turn it around, I think I'm overstating it, but try to ease my way into the trucking company and make a difference. Because that was the mainstream business of the company, of the family. But I didn't make much of an impact. I was struggling a little bit. And so then Priya was the next thing I could do. And so I spoke to my father that can I look at this cinema because I think that maybe this needs to be refurbished and improved. And it was playing, second run movies and B movies. So it was, and also people knew that it was associated with our family. And so I said, maybe the reputation of the cinema also needs to improve and we can play brand new movies. So that's how it all started. And at the same time, and you brought my wife Selina into the conversation, we got married around the same time, 1990. And my father had already given me a verbal nod that, Acha, go, you got married now, go to your honeymoon and then come back and we can talk about it. So when I went for my honeymoon, I went to Orlando and right next to Disney. 23 years old, so our main place of enjoyment was Disney. Was a multiplex, a very good multiplex. And it was very colorful, vibrant. And I immediately picked up the phone and spoke to my father and I said, I have an idea now and I'm going to stick to, I hope you stick to what you told me, that I'm going to revamp the cinema. And when I came back, I realized that it was more than just revamping it, because content, which remains true till date, is very critical. So of course he allowed me to paint the cinema into various colors, fuchsia. I wanted to make them very colorful. I just got very influenced by Hollywood movies and Indian movies, which were colorful, vibrant. But I used to always find the cinemas a little dark, dingy. Everybody used grey tiles for some reason. And even the seats were Rexine. There was no carpet. In most of the cinemas, there were some excellent cinemas at that time as well, like Chanakya, Sheila, Sterling. And even south, there were some very iconic cinemas, Maratha Mandir in Jaipur. But by and large, the 10, 11,000 screens that India had, they were not that of that category where you could say, okay, my movies are colorful and vibrant. Can the cinemas also be as vibrant and celebratory of the number one form of entertainment of people to go out and watch movies in India? So that was really the idea. So he indulged me and he said, okay, do that. But then I realized that content is still something that I need. And then, there's no market research as such. I just observed that only Chanakya and Archana in Delhi at those days used to play English movies. Hindi movies, you still had about 93 cinemas in India, in Delhi, that would play Hindi movies. And the risk-reward ratio of Hindi movies was just too high because you had to pay these minimum guarantees to the distributors, or you had to give your cinema on theatre hire. So if the movie did well, it was a win-win. If movie didn't do well, either of them in the equation lost their shirt. Right. So and the Hollywood guys were the only ones who were doing a rev share, which is like if whatever the box office collections are, which the model exists till today. So plus in South Delhi, the cinema was in South Delhi, English demographics were more. And only 2 cinemas were doing, and I used to find a huge backlog used to get created. So if Pity Movement came, for example, it ran for 14 weeks or 25 weeks, and all other Hollywood movies used to get delayed. So then there was a lot of decibel in the communications in Delhi and Bombay that Hollywood movies come very late to India. Actually, they were never late. It was just said because they never used to get any screen time. Because earlier movies used to do very well.
So well. Right.
So well. So I didn't realize that it was a very refreshing for me or a very positive thing that happened, that when I went to meet the Hollywood studios reps in Bombay, 20th Century Fox, Warner Brothers.
And what year is this?
This is 1990, 1991, between then, while the cinema was getting renovated. And they said, wow, we've been looking for a great cinema in Delhi. And you're in South Delhi. And by the way, you had a history of playing Hollywood movies. Earlier, we used to play Quo Vadis, Enter the Dragon, Planet of the Apes. So we had a history of showing very good results in Hollywood movies. He said, why don't you become a pure Hollywood movies cinema? Because Delhi needs another one. And Archana was wanting to close to a shopping center and an office complex. If you remember, NDTV's offices, in fact, shifted there. Yeah. So I said, fine, that's great. I'll definitely get the movies. So that's how it all started, that Priya became a Hollywood cinema, film cinema, very clean, very neat. And the USP that I had at that time was I had Dolby. I was the second cinema in the country after Sterling. So Sterling, the Tatas also encouraged me and influenced me a lot. Joel Tata used to run the cinema at that time. And then I said, if I do this, it'll be great. So my taste of what the Indian consumer can get attracted to started with Priya.
So, okay, so what I want to ask you next is exactly that. Let me just tell our audiences first, we're in Director's Cut, this is in ambience, and we're actually just a few minutes away from the original Priya that we're talking about.
Absolutely.
The start of it all.
Yeah.
I went there as a child, a lot of us Delhi kids went there as a child. We sat in that huge screen and we were spellbound. I remember watching Harry Potter, all these other big films.
Correct.
And just it was so huge that it was impossible not to be spellbound.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, you said something very interesting, what luxury means to us today. You have shaped that, PVR has shaped that. So with something like Director's Cut, and I'm aware that, and I do want to tell our audiences too, PVR has many different offerings at many different price points.
Yeah.
Still, at this premium luxury price point, how did you decide, okay, this is what the luxury Indian consumer wants? What's too much, what's too little, what's that fine line?
Well, I think I'd like to address this definitely, but the idea was never to go to luxury. The idea was always to, and which we continue to talk about in our office, aspirational and affordable. So the whole starting point was aspirational and affordable. And therefore, because I wanted to put the best equipment, comfortable seating, and good carpets, colorful environment, hospitality trained staff. Therefore, I could not offer all that at the price which was prevalent at that time. So let me just jump straight away to say Anupam. When we made PVR Anupam in Saket in 1995, and 97 it opened, but the renovation took almost 18 months. and now we fit out a cinema in 4 months' time. At that time, when I did the calculations, I realized that if I need the best seats, best carpets, Dolby in every auditorium, xenon projector in auditorium, there's no way I can do it at, I think 40 or 30 rupees was the ticket price at that time. Only balcony tickets in very few cinemas in Delhi, Sheila, Liberty, Delight, and Chanakya, were about 75 to 100 rupees. So I said, I have no choice. So that was one call I had to take, that if I want, and I felt that the aspirational consumer, not luxury consumer, aspirational, will say, I really want to watch, we start with Jerry Maguire, Ghost in the Darkness, all these movies, that he's going to not mind if I charge about 20% incremental to the normal ticket price, because I think it will be very obvious to him that the environment that he's seeing. He will see the seats are not Rexine, they are velvet. He will see the carpet has got an underlining fabric underneath
Are
it.
some of those your personal touches? I'm asking because I want to know, when you go into that space, when you're designing that space, are there things that you are very particular about?
At that time, I mean, I still continue to remain very particular, because I just experimented with that, because that experiment worked. Then I realized, when people see an environment like this and they see very high quality sound projection system which they can't get at home, then they are going to pay slightly higher price than if you don't provide these facilities. So that was the starting point. This luxury came much later. What you're talking about just now, this came in 2004, an experiment that I did in Bangalore, because there was another segment of consumers who also had the appetite to watch movies. Doesn't matter which background, socioeconomic background you come from. One thing that unites India, very cliched what I'm saying, is movies and cricket, right? So therefore, even if you're a millionaire or billionaire, you still want to see a movie on the big screen. More so pre-COVID, even now.
We'll talk about that in a second,
Even now. So I felt, how do I get these guys out now? Because they've got home theaters, they've got everything. So a gold class, we used to call it at that time, was a result of getting that consumer out. So you see, the whole idea was that it's such a heterogeneous market. There's a customer at every price point. If I remained 150, 200 rupees offering only, then I would have not been able to get another consumer who also had the appetite to go out, if I had not given him recliners and luxury experience the way we give in. Director's Cut, Lux Cinemas, Insignia now, after the... So the idea was horses for courses, for every pocket, every consumer, every aspiration. So luxury is only, by the way, 14% of our portfolio. 86% is still 259 rupees, our current ATP, which we declared in the last quarter results.
Let's tell our audiences what ATP is. I want us to break it down.
Average ticket price. So average ticket price is still 250, 260
Which
rupees.
is an important fact, because there is so much discussion around, the price of food, the price of other parts of the PVR experience.
Yeah, because I find that the people who talk about it are the ones who live in the catchments where my high quality cinemas are there. These premium cinemas. So somebody living in Juhu, or somebody living in Vasant Vihar, or Vasant Kunj, he thinks this is PVR DLF Promenade or Priya,
but they
or
forget
this
that
is,
there are,
and they extrapolate that ticket price and think that the whole country has got that.
I want to ask you, there are two actually big phenomenons that are bunched together. One is OTTs, the other is the pandemic. And this question of what they did to you, or rather what either one of these two did to the way that you looked at the business. Can you take us back to 2020? Tell us a little bit about what it was like. I know something that you've said in interviews of yours is that actually phenomenons like this happen every few years. So while this is one phenomenon we can talk about that changed the entire industry, in some ways you're used to it. But still, take us back to what it was like. Tell us also, if you don't mind, internally what it was like. How did you navigate that moment?
No, first of all, when I've said that home entertainment or phenomenons like this have happened in the past, what I meant was that home entertainment has always evolved over the years. You've had your color TV. First TV came. Then if you look at the history of cinema, I think 1919 or something, the first cinema opera, 1929, I don't remember. We can get that. Color TV, when it came, people said cinemas are going to go. In fact, cinema started showing news at that time. Then color TV came, then
Each
VHS.
tech makes you feel the current
So
one is
home
obsolete.
entertainment, which is what I put all this under bracket, always impacted, but then suddenly water found its own level. People sat at home for doing whatever they had to do at home, and they also went out. So both were thriving. There were like little disruptions. In fact, when Qiyamat came, that was around 89, is when I built my first cinema, Priya. I mean, renovated my first cinema. That's the time people said, what are you doing? That time VHS penetration was at its highest point, and ticket prices were controlled, and cinemas were completely getting destroyed. That was also a very, very telling moment at that time. But yet, when you build good cinemas, big movies came, people had time for both. It's like eating at home and going out, ordering on Zomato or going out. So lots of things happen. People are not straight-jacketed and only keep doing one thing. So that is what I've always sort of bet on, that people will not do only one thing. Okay, they will do multiple things, and especially in India, where movie going is very much part of our culture. It's interwoven into the fabric of our, how we entertain ourselves. So therefore, this too shall pass.
Right.
However, I underestimated the impact of COVID. I never thought COVID will be that massive an impact. So all other factors that happened, they used to compare Spanish flu with COVID. So I think Spanish flu also had a devastating effect, and this also had a devastating effect in my industry. So this is a body blow. There's no question about it. But I still remained sanguine. I said it is a body blow. It is going to have a major impact on us, but we will still bounce back. But it has taken longer than possible. But I think definitely that every reason why we haven't bounced back the way we were at pre-COVID level has been very easily identifiable, because the number of movies, first of all, got bunched up and got released on OTT. Then shooting stopped. So therefore the quantity and the quality of movies stopped. People's viewing habits changed. Therefore people had to relook at the scripts and say, now OTT content has become so edgy. TV shows, can we make our movies also edgier? So even the film fraternity, not just in India, all over the world. Then the strike in Hollywood happened.
Right.
That impacted us. So therefore, now all that is gone. I feel 25-26 is going to be a very, very positive year. Because now when I talk to the studios in Hollywood, I talk to the film industry here, which is South and Bombay, I find that they've got their act together. Also, the water has found its level where TV shows are back on OTT. It's not necessarily films.
Yeah. The occasional film.
Yeah, occasional films will come, but not the way suddenly an Akshay Kumar starrer is going there. That's not happening anymore. And also the economic rationale of releasing a movie theatrically first is very well understood by everybody. Release the movie theatrically, let it get monetized theatrically. There is no upper limit to how much the movie can earn, because otherwise if you go to an OTT platform with a movie which is made for 10 crores, you will get 10 crores plus 10%, 20%, whatever the economics is. Here you can do a movie like 12th Fail or any small film.
Yeah,
no, I won't say small. Vidhu Vinod Chopra, if he's watching, he'll say, "Meri picture no small kehta." Small nahi, matlab like a movie like that, which is not at a smaller budget.
Maybe
then,
not big stars.
Big
That's
star.
an easy way to, yeah.
Then it can just hit like a complete sixer. It can 100 crores or whatever. So therefore, that realization has also come to the content makers, that let's release the movie theatrically first, monetize it, then go to the other windows. Even the OTT players say, okay, let me understand the performance of the movie first. Then I'm ready to pay you. But if I don't know the performance, it could be a big starrer movie as well. Suppose it is something that's not going to do well theatrically, then I'm not going to pay you.
So you're saying that there's almost a way in which theatres have now evolved as a different purpose, the purpose of a testing ground in a sense.
No, monetizing. Testing will undermine the importance of theatres.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Massive monetizing can happen in theatres. The maximum monetizing happens in theatres. So still 65% of a film revenue, 70% comes from theatrical. So it is more than
question,
yeah.
So
no, I just want to get that out.
No, so the next question is very much related to this. I just want to ask, you're a dad of 3 kids. The reason I bring that up is because do you at home observe the viewing habits of that younger generation and sort of get your ground notes, your field work from the way in which they are spending time? How much are they choosing to go to films? How much are they watching stuff on their own phones? Do you use that, and have you used that over the last few years as an observation?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not making movies. I'm only
Right,
I'm
screening
a
them.
vehicle in which people come and watch movies. So I think that observation is not just being done by me, that's being done by the filmmakers. For example, horror movies did very well. Horror comedies did very well. If you look at the biggest movie of last year, apart from Pushpa 2, was 3-2. Bhool Bhulaiya did well. Before that, this re-release that we did of Tumbar did well. Even in Hollywood, horror movies are doing well. So the young audience is definitely liking horror films. They're liking comedies. They're liking big event films as well. So not just observing my 3 kids, it's beyond, the beyond them, and they of course help me a lot in telling. But all I can do with that information that I get is just to pass it on and to the producers and distributors, and then they hope that they create content which is something which resonates with the 12 to 34 audience which is coming to our cinemas.
Can we ask you almost to take us behind the scenes?
Yeah.
And so what I mean when I say that is, take us a little bit into what it's like in your own head when there is a period like the pandemic. It doesn't have to be something as long as the pandemic. I know shorter instances, I know sometimes the World Cup can also throw up a bit of a googly. So these incidents come, how have you started grappling with it? You said this too shall pass, and I thought that that was a beautiful mantra, but take us a little bit more to what it feels like before you'd arrived there.
Before I?
Arrive at this too shall pass. So psychologically,
Yeah.
how long are you sort of worried by things? Do you wait for the data to come in before you get worried? What is that like behind the scenes?
When COVID happened,
COVID or any of these incidents? COVID was longer, which is why I think it really stayed with me. I wanted to know how you sort of looked at the light at the other side of the tunnel.
No, you see, I think I've said that in a couple of interviews. I'll just briefly take a moment on that. Is that coincidentally, I was reading a lot of Indian books like Mahabharata and all that at that time. And my mom is, God bless her, with me. Selena's, my wife, is really spiritual and all that. So fortunately, around that time, I started counting my blessings, and I didn't look at life one-dimensional view of life I took, that business is down and life is gone. So it wasn't like that. So I said, let me look at the positives. My health is there, my kids are with me, and my mom is with me, my wife is with me, and there are a lot of positives in life. Okay, one part of my life which is extremely important, business has really gone downhill, and there's no visibility of when it will turn around. Losses are accumulating, massive problems we had, and I had to deal with a lot of my own people, talk to them every single day. But I just took a call that I'm not going to get bogged down. And it was not easy. Initially, it was a body blow, as I said, but then slowly I grappled with it. I think it's just to not be reactive is one thing that I do. I just have a think about what is going on and just calm myself down, and then sort of say, take things in perspective and not get too carried away. Of course, we are human beings, we are frail. Every day we get excited. We try to be. I think mental stability and equanimity is much more difficult than physical getting into shape.
Resilience even.
I think getting into shape is not a problem. Getting physically fit and getting into shape. I think mental equanimity for me is a much more, it requires a much more evolved human being. Because how do you remain focused in extreme dire situations and extreme euphoric situations? Can you remain calm
the same,
and balanced?
as you said, equanimity.
Yeah, equanimity.
So some meditate. Did you, in those years, come up with a ritual of sorts? Others, will talk about how grateful they are. Gratefulness is a word you hear a lot.
Yeah.
What was it for you?
Honestly, getting up in the morning and looking at the family being there, roof over my head, and having the support of so many people. My key people were so amazing. Before I could even pick up the phone and say something, that guys, I think we need to do something, they called me. I can never forget that. Deepa sitting here, everybody called me, sir, by the way, this is looking bad. We've decided 50% haircut in our remuneration. And by the way, sir, let's not get rid of anybody. Let's just continue and see how it goes. We are with you, we're cutting this cost, that cost. We need to talk to all the developers to get some rent relief. So I just saw a lot of positivity, and we got energy from each other. And I think that's what it is. And honestly, no meditation. I love my bhajans, and we have a temple at home, and Whatever at that time I was reading, and it was helping me a little bit calm myself down. Singing was a respite for me. Fitness was respite. I've got a great gym at home. I was working out. I just didn't want to go to the other side, where I started eating too much or drinking too much or growing a beard. I used to shave every morning because I had to be on,
Calls
Zoom
and stuff,
and everything. I just wanted to look the part, that it's okay, So I think it's important that when you have a responsibility towards your family, you have a responsibility towards your people, external people, lots of stakeholders are involved here, that you do not look bogged down. So I just somehow have got this. I don't know how I got this, but I got it.
Well, you kind of touched on it because you talked about the PVR family for a second.
Yeah.
And I do want to say, even as we were sitting down, speaking to people who are part of your team and understanding from some of them that they've worked here for 20 years.
Yeah.
This is your closest network and they've built what PVR looks like today.
Absolutely.
We could feel that,
Absolutely.
even in just the interaction.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was there.
Yeah.
But can I ask you, just to go back to what we were talking about a little bit, which is PVR post-pandemic. So we talked about what it did to you, how you dealt with it. But I want to ask you, the PVR that we're looking at today, PVR Inox that we're looking at today, where are we going? I'm asking you this because we hear about, for example, I'll talk about Interstellar. It's come out in theatres across the entire country, and you have people coming in to see it because of the way it looks on the screen. Is the future more of just digitally beautiful films, people coming out to view the films because it's finally a very, very immersive experience? What do you see the future of PVR Inox looking like?
I think story has to be immersive, not just the film. I keep going back to movies like, again, some small budget movies which have done very well. Again, at 12th Fail, even Sam Bahadur was not a big budget movie. Lapata Ladies, brilliant movie. So these movies are all immersive in storytelling, not immersive. Of course, that also really matters. Of course, if people come, they watch an Oppenheimer or a Mission Impossible or a Maverick or a Pushpa, that they can't get at home on a 12-meter screen and Dolby Digital sound. At the same time, they also want to come for escapism. Funny enough, I really enjoyed Love Yapa as well. Did you see it?
No, I didn't, but I know it's in theatres right now. I don't think me or anyone else has not been able to see the promotion of it. That one song, the visuals. Yeah. So we've all seen that. For sure.
So basically, I found very engaging. So for me, movie has to be engaging. It doesn't matter what budget it's made for. Of course, the enhancement from me comes from storytelling.
The Indian audience goer. We're noisy sometimes, where we disturb others sometimes. What's a good thing about the way we watch movies?
That you come out and watch movies. I think that itself is very good, that when you like a movie, it goes to another level, which is fantastic. The fact that it is not easy navigating through the traffic, it's not easy making a program at home, with your family, with your friends, which movie, which show, which cinema, reaching on time, one guy's not come, anxiety levels, picture shuru hone wali hai, wo nahi aaya. All that, despite all these factors, yet people come and watch movies. And despite whatever people have said, we still get 150, 170 million people to our cinemas. So that itself is a big thank you to the Indian consumers, because that hasn't happened anywhere in the world, that people have come back to cinemas the way they have come back in India.
That's huge, and I feel like we don't talk about it enough, because we talk about the negative headlines, the fact that, cinemas just haven't made it back in that way, that a lot, but not this.
So the bounce back of the exhibition industry has happened the best in India than anywhere else, because our dependence is not just on Hollywood content. Our circuit is dependent on Hollywood, PVR, because of the demographic sort of setup.
Right, you told us right from where it started even.
But otherwise, 1700 films coming of different languages in India is unheard of in any other market. So our dependence, so suddenly a movie will do well in South, which can resonate everywhere, fantastic. Suddenly a Punjabi movie will do well, which resonates everywhere, we are okay. Now Chama has come, okay, it's a Hindi movie, but it's just done phenomenal business.
Yeah, we've been talking about it. Can we ask you lastly, and I promise this is the last question, we've kind of stretched it, but what are you doing to de-stress? And I ask you that because we talked a little earlier about how you maintain a sense of equanimity. That's a different quality though from de-stressing. And fortunately, unfortunately, we are aware that you sing. We've talked a little bit about it before we got into this interview. I'm not going to put you in a spot just yet, but I do want to ask you, right before I came for this interview, to a number of people, when they heard Ajay Bijli, were sitting down with him, make him sing. make him something. And there was no particular ask, English or Indian, but it was make him sing. So for the many people who have asked, it's totally your option. Could you sing us something? Tell us a little bit about what you're practicing these days. How much of your routine is singing? Tell us. And we'll leave you with
Actually,
this.
if I tell you that how much I'm singing, then you'll definitely want me to sing.
We
But
will
the problem
either way.
is my voice is exhausted. So because I'm a businessman at the end of the day, and there's only so much time I can allocate. But then if I have a goal, like currently I have a goal that I have to do this on 15th of March. I have a gig at Piano Man in El Deco Center, and I told them that I'll do Bryan Adams a tribute. So Bryan Adams sings very high, so that's why my throat is the way it is. So I focus on Bryan Adams only. So currently that
Always or just right now?
On this, just now.
Yeah,
I'm doing that. But when I'm recording a song, like I've recorded about 3 songs with Amit Trivedi, and there was a song called Beparwa, one called Subha, and then one I done a Punjabi dance song which is like Shadi Ka Gana. उस वक्त मैं सिर्फ वही गा रहा था. So घर पे morning, evening, my family was sick of it. That I was doing that. Just now the family is sick of me singing Bryan Adams songs. So at any given time, depending upon what my goal is.
I'd like to make the point that your voice is actually perfect for Bryan Adams right now, because you've got the slight growl that is required to reach the exact note.
No. So
not going to manage to convince.
So that's my de-stressing. Sometimes it gets stressful as well because I take things seriously. So that's also stressing because kaam kiya, I talk a lot, and then you come back in the evening and you have to do a jam. And then I'm serious that I don't want to goof it up, and people say, oh, Ajay Bijli ga raha hai. Ye nahi. It should be, oh, who's this singing?
Yeah.
You know,
it happens to be.
It's an alter ego of mine.
Yeah.
So it is not.
Do you have a name?
The band is called Random Order. My name remains the same.
Okay, you don't have, do you know what I mean? Like a performance alter ego altogether.
No, I haven't become that weird.
That would be very cool.
I have not become that weird yet.
Okay. With the, just like with the Frank Sinatra-esque hat turned in the other direction.
I'm 58. Frank, here I come. Soon.
Just in a little while.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for sitting down with us. Thank you for telling us all about how the theatre industry is shaped, where it's going, but also a little bit about where your own personal music ambitions are hopefully going to be taking you in the next few days at least. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks.